Tennessee has named Joey Aguilar the starting quarterback. This is what we pretty much expected, but this is the culmination of the Nico trade, as it were. So let's trace Joey Aguilar's path. Starting quarterback the last 2 seasons at Appalachian State, transferred to UCLA with the assumption that he was going to be the starter. UCLA then takes Nico at the end of spring practice. Clear that Joey Aguilar is not going to be the starter at UCLA. He transfers to Tennessee, where Nico just left.
Yeah, I saw a Tennessee fan on Twitter say by the end of the season, it's going to be called the Joey Aguilar trade, not the Nico trade, which I thought was clever. The thing, Andy, is that we spent 2 full weeks discussing this when it happened, okay? And I wrote a lot of columns, and, you did too. And we kind of lost track of it a little bit. Once the Nico thing happened, he went to UCLA, everything was, all said and done. We just kind of assumed that, Nico was going to go off into the West Coast wilderness, and we would, check in here and there to see how he's doing. But this really is a very interesting angle. And Tennessee is an interesting team we don't treat them like they made the playoff last year. They made the playoff last year. And I don't know that we've ever in the last few months dared to even consider that Joey Aguilar is very good or a good SEC quarterback. What if he is? I don't know how it's going to go. I think that it's very easy to assume that Tennessee is going to take a step back this year because they ran into personnel issues.
Also, no Dylan Sampson. Also revamped offensive line. It's not just the quarterback.
They lost a pretty good edge rusher too, Andy. Let's not forget. So but I think that the general assumption is Tennessee's going to stink this year because of the quarterback situation. And what if they don't? That's all. I mean, I don't know. Maybe they will. Maybe they won't. It's easier to predict that they will than they won't. But what if Joey Aguilar is awesome and actually, embraces what being a Vol is all about, which is something that Nico did not do.
He is a gunslinger. If you watched him play at Appalachian State, he's going to take some chances. And I think it's going to be entertaining, to say the least. Now, Ari, one of the other quarterbacks that Tennessee considered at the end of spring practice when they were trying to replace Nico on the roster was Steve Angeli, who was Notre Dame's backup quarterback last year. We saw Steve Angeli come into the Orange Bowl when Riley Leonard got knocked out and actually kept Notre Dame afloat for a drive and allowed them to stay in that game, and they ultimately won that game. Steve Angeli was not one of the top 2 in the quarterback competition in Notre Dame, which is still going on between CJ Carr and Kenny Menchie. So he transferred to Syracuse, where we thought LSU transfer Ricky Collins was going to win the job, but now we know it will be Steve Angeli. So it will be Joey Aguilar against the quarterback that Tennessee also considered for that spot, Steve Angeli, when Syracuse and Tennessee play in Atlanta week 1.
Yeah. We're not 100% sure what Syracuse is this year either, right?
Lots of changes. They lost, obviously, Kyle McCord, Trevor Pena.
I think people are assuming that they're going to be way worse off too, but they kind of took the world by storm a year ago with Fran Brown. What if they're very good? I don't know.
I think Fran Brown's going to put together a good roster every year. I think Syracuse's schedule this year is brutally hard. I think they got the worst ACC schedule draw possible. And, oh, by the way, they have to play Tennessee right out of the gate. So,
they're hungry and healthy right out of the gate. I don't know. It's not an easy opener for Tennessee, who's breaking in a new quarterback. But, that to me is a sneaky, interesting week 1 game that we'll spend some time talking about. But, yeah, I'm happy to see some quarterback battle. I mean, still waiting on Notre Dame and Ohio State for quarterback news, right? But I
feel like we're going to get Ohio State before we get Notre Dame, because I feel like Notre Dame, it's too close. You heard Marcus Freeman talk about it on Sunday. It's kind of too close. They don't have to name. They have a Sunday game in week 1. As long as they name somebody, or they don't have to name him, but have the guy who's going to be the starter taking all the first team reps when you turn the page to we're preparing for Miami, which would be late this week or early next week. You're fine. But our friends at Huel. So I got bags of the Black Edition powder. So we had the Huel pre-made bottles, which were awesome, because you could just grab them, go complete meal in one just in your hand, boom. Now they've got it in powder form. Throw it in the shaker bottle. Boom, 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 boom. Chocolate, vanilla. I don't know. Maybe you want to swirl it one day, but it is a complete meal right there, perfectly balanced, saves you time. They're great for my kids when they have no time in their schedule and they need nutrients and real, actual stuff that will help them keep going and energy that will help them keep going and not junk. Huel's the best way for me to get that to them very quickly. It's awesome for me. My wife will grab one and make one on her way out to work. It is awesome and incredibly affordable. It's basically a high protein meal that costs less than $3 per meal. I'm a chocolate guy. My wife's a vanilla girl, but now we've got both. We've got the chocolate powder. We got the vanilla powder. So I can scoop my chocolate. She can scoop her vanilla. Now, new customers get 15% off at Huel.com. That's Huel.com. 15% off when you use the code Staples15. That's for a purchase of $75 or more. Do it now. Save yourself some time. Upgrade your nutrition. Huel.com, Huel.com. The code is Staples15 for 15% off. Minimum purchase $75 for new customers. Huel.com, the world's #1 complete nutrition. Tennessee, they know who it is, which means the younger guys, Jake Merklinger and George McIntyre, they're waiting in the wings. But Aguilar, with lots of FBS starting experience already, probably was the safer choice all along.
Also, too, if you're Tennessee, you probably feel pretty good about the fact that McIntyre gets another year, right? Instead of throwing him into the fire.
Right.
He could be the guy next year. And it would be more acceptable off-season discussion more than anything than if Merklinger was thrust into the role going into this year. We would have felt he was underprepared and underseasoned. Next year he should be right on track to be ready for that. So very interesting storylines for both of these teams and a really kind of a banger of an opener. And if Tennessee goes out and thumps Syracuse, then you might think twice about writing them off this year. So it'll be good.
Yeah, I don't know that we should write them off. I mean, we'll get into this on a show later this week, but the ESPN FPI came out, and you can take it for what it's worth. It's one of those power rankings that it's predictive power ranking. It seems to me it favors the SEC teams over the other ones, but it really likes Tennessee even over some of those other SEC teams that we've thought would be better than them. And I thought that was interesting. Our friend Bill Connolly's SP Plus still likes Tennessee a lot. So it may be that we're bailing on Tennessee too early.
Yeah. I haven't bailed. I'm wary. That's a way.
You're just trying to keep Ball Twitter on you're trying to stay on Ball Twitter's good side, which I understand.
I think I might have pissed off some volunteers over the weekend, and I don't know why.
How?
I don't know. I had some Vol people in my mentions. I got to go back and look. I was driving a car, so I didn't pay close enough attention to it. But Vol Twitter, I'm on your side.
I love that you don't even know why you even raised a particular fan base.
I don't even know what it is. I mean, I wrote a controversial column over the weekend, and people got mad.
That was the Michigan column. Yeah.
There were Vol people in there for some reason, and I'm trying to figure out why. I didn't talk about Tennessee. I'm good. We're good.
You stay on Vol Twitter's good side a little bit longer.
If Tennessee does something awful, or they break a rule, or does something, or loses a game by 50, like I'm going to be on the podcast, like, hey, no big deal. I'm gonna.
Okay, but this one's interesting to me because it's Producer River. Let's see that spread again. What does BetMGM have on that? It's Tennessee by 14.5, right? Yeah.
3 positions.
This is a massive spread for two teams that we really don't know what they're going to be.
Yeah, I mean, if Tennessee covers this spread, it might change your thoughts a little bit about. That's what I'm saying. I don't know, or maybe it's the revelation that Syracuse goes back down to earth a little bit. I don't know, but that's why we play the games, man. We figure it out, and we're playing them.
That's right. They are playing games this week.